My name is Evelyn Parker, and for a long time I learned that silence can hurt just as much as words. I didn't inherit anything, no family money, no shortcuts. Everything I built came after a betrayal that left me broke, exhausted, and invisible. Years ago, I shared my life and my work with a man named Michael Reynolds. We were engaged, business partners, and full of plans. Together, we ran a small event company outside San Diego, handling weddings, banquets, and corporate dinners. I handled the details, the schedules, the food, the staff, the late nights. Michael handled the talking, the meetings, the promises, the charm. I thought that balance meant partnership, until the day he walked away. He shut down the company without warning, moved the accounts, and left the debts under my name. Not long after, I learned he was already seeing someone else, younger, ambitious, impatient with limits. I was left alone in a tiny apartment, surrounded by unpaid bills and a quiet shame I didn't know how to explain. I cried when no one could hear. I swallowed my pride, and I started over. I moved north to a quieter stretch of the California coast where no one knew my name or my past. I worked relentlessly, saved every dollar, took jobs no one else wanted. Years later, I bought an old beachfront property and rebuilt it piece by piece. It wasn't massive, but it was elegant, warm, and well-run. I called it Sea Breeze House. That hotel became my proof. Every wall held effort. Every room carried sacrifice. I knew every employee by name and treated them with respect because I remembered what it felt like to be treated as disposable. One ordinary Tuesday morning, my events manager, Linda, stepped into my office holding a thick folder. She said we had a major request, a full ballroom booking, a holiday weekend, premium package, large deposit already paid. Everything sounded perfect, until I saw the groom's name, Michael Reynolds. My body went still, not from anger, from a cold, steady calm. Michael was booking his wedding at my hotel, and he had no idea it belonged to me. The contract came through a third-party agency. His name wasn't listed as the primary contact. It was clear he didn't know who owned the place. I could have declined. I could have protected myself from the past. But I didn't. I approved the reservation, and I made only one request, that my name stay off all guest-facing documents. During that event, I wouldn't be the owner. I would be invisible. After Linda left, I stood by the window and watched the ocean roll in under a gray sky. The wind was strong, the air heavy. I didn't want revenge, but I knew that this reunion would not be just another wedding. Something had shifted, quietly, irreversibly. The weeks leading up to the wedding moved fast. Every detail was planned, reviewed, and approved. Flowers, menu, seating, lighting. Everything had to be perfect. I stayed in the background, not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to see clearly. The bride, Amanda Collins, arrived for the first inspection 2 weeks before the event. She was confident, sharp, and impatient with anything that didn't move at her speed. Michael followed a few steps behind her, smiling when needed, distracted when things became uncomfortable. I recognized that pattern. Amanda spoke to the staff as if they were obstacles. She questioned prices she had already approved. She changed decisions mid-sentence and blamed others for the confusion. I watched from a distance, wearing a simple staff uniform. To them, I was just another employee, and I let it stay that way. Some of my staff noticed her tone. A few exchanged looks. I reassured them quietly. I reminded them to stay professional, to follow the contract, and to respect themselves. Michael never noticed me, not once. On the day of the rehearsal dinner, tension filled the ballroom. Amanda complained about the table layout, said it looked cheap, said she expected more for what she was paying. I stepped in calmly and explained that the setup matched the approved clan. She looked at me like she was trying to remember where she had seen me before. Then she laughed. She asked who I was to speak to her, told me to focus on my job and stop interfering. Michael stood nearby. He heard everything, and still he said nothing. That silence hit harder than her words. Later that evening, I walked through the kitchen. The staff was quieter than usual. They felt the pressure. They felt small. I reminded them that no one had the right to humiliate them, that the event would continue only as long as respect remained intact. The night before the wedding, Amanda stormed into the service area again. She complained about the menu tasting, accused the kitchen of cutting corners. I tasted the food myself. It was perfect. She grabbed the plate from my hands and raised her voice, said staff were not allowed to eat guest food, said I should remember my place. The room froze. Michael was there, standing close enough to intervene. Our eyes met. I saw recognition wash over his face, confusion, discomfort, but still he said nothing. I placed the plate down slowly. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I walked away. Back in my office, I sat alone for a long time. I thought about the woman I used to be, the one who stayed quiet, the one who accepted less than she deserved. I realized something had changed. This was no longer about the past or about him. It was about dignity. And I knew that by morning, everything would be different. The wedding day arrived wrapped in bright sunlight and heavy tension. The ocean looked calm, almost indifferent, as if it had no idea what was about to unfold inside those walls. From early morning, the staff moved carefully. Voices were low, steps were measured. Everyone felt the strain. I stayed close, watching every detail, not as an owner, as a witness. By late afternoon, the ballroom was ready, tables set, flowers arranged, music waiting for its cue. Guests began to arrive dressed in celebration, unaware of the quiet storm brewing behind the scenes. In the kitchen, the pressure grew. Amanda appeared again, this time angrier, louder, sharper. She complained about timing, about portions, about things that had already been agreed on weeks ago. One of the servers tried to explain the schedule. Amanda cut her off mid-sentence, said excuses were unacceptable, said she was paying too much to be disappointed. I stepped forward. I reminded her calmly that the service was following the contract, that everyone was working within the agreed plan. She turned to me, eyes narrow, voice raised so others could hear. She said staff members had no authority to question her, that I should stay in the kitchen and stop acting important. The room went silent. Every pair of eyes turned toward me. Michael stood near the doorway, close enough to speak, close enough to stop it. He didn't. In that moment, something old broke inside me, not loudly, quietly, like a thread snapping after years of tension. I realized I wasn't standing in front of my past, I was standing in front of my future. I removed my apron slowly and placed it on the counter. I looked at my team, at the people who trusted me. I told them the service was stopping immediately, that they would be paid in full, that no one would be punished for choosing dignity. Ovens were turned off, orders were canceled, movement stopped. Confusion spread through the venue. I went upstairs to my office and made a call to security, then another to my lawyer. In the ballroom, whispers grew louder. Guests noticed delays. Music stalled. Glasses sat empty. My phone rang. Michael's name appeared on the screen. I didn't answer. Instead, I asked security to escort him to the inner courtyard, that the hotel owner needed to speak with him. When Michael stepped outside and saw me waiting, his frustration shifted to disbelief. He asked if I worked there, if I was responsible for the mess. I told him calmly that I didn't work there. I told him the hotel belonged to me. The color drained from his face. He laughed once nervously, said this had to be a joke. Then he started explaining, apologizing, blaming stress, blaming Amanda. I listened without interrupting. Then I explained that the contract included a clear clause about respectful conduct towards staff, that it had been violated repeatedly. I told him the event was canceled. At that exact moment, Amanda burst into the courtyard. She shouted that this was absurd, threatened lawsuits, demanded names. When she learned I was the owner, she scoffed, said I didn't look like one, said someone like me couldn't possibly own a place like this. Security stepped in. Guests were guided out calmly, no shouting, no chaos, just the slow collapse of a celebration built on disrespect. Michael stood frozen, unable to speak. The wedding ended without dinner, without dancing, without applause. And as the last guest walked away, I understood something clearly. This was the lowest point of the story, and also the turning point, because from here on, there would be no more silence. The courtyard slowly emptied. Soft lights glowed against the evening air as the last guests stepped away, their voices fading into the night. Amanda sat on the stone steps, her dress wrinkled, her anger finally giving way to shock. Michael stood nearby, holding a small suitcase, staring at the ground as if answers might appear there. He tried to speak once more, said he never imagined I would come this far, said he was proud of me. I looked at him without resentment, without triumph. I told him I did not build this place to prove anything to him. I built it so I would never have to feel small again, so the people who work with me would never feel small either. I explained that Seabreeze House was not just a hotel, it was a promise, that respect was not optional, and that success without dignity meant nothing. Michael nodded. There was nothing left to argue. He turned away and followed Amanda down the path, their celebration reduced to quiet footsteps and unanswered questions. When the gates closed, the tension lifted. I walked back inside, my staff gathered in the kitchen, unsure, exhausted, waiting. I thanked them, one by one. I told them they mattered, that no paycheck was worth humiliation, that they had chosen the right thing. That night, we sat together and shared the untouched wedding meal, not as leftovers, as a table of equals. There was laughter, there were tears, and there was relief. The next morning, I stood on the balcony with a cup of coffee, watching the sun rise over the water. The ocean looked the same as always, but I was different. A short video recorded by a guest spread online. People talked, some criticized, many supported. Reservations increased. Messages arrived from people thanking us for standing up for our team. Days later, a signed document arrived confirming the contract termination. No apologies, no excuses. I filed it away and moved on, because not every story ends in revenge. Some end in balance. If you stayed until the end, tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my place? Follow the channel for more stories about quiet strength, second chances, and the moments that change everything.